what traits do you identify as the good property managers? You know, if you're saying, hey, make sure, I mean, you said, you know, a little bit, how do they relate, but what are, see if we can dive in a little bit, like what are those details, or what is it like you guys like to see that make a good property manager, especially for an out-of-state investor?
That's something that people just have anxiety over. They maybe will never see this property. They don't know the neighborhood. They don't know the tenants. They don't know what the issues are. People just automatically think that if I don't see it, that if it's not like something I could touch, that like it doesn't like exist almost. So they feel that there's a lot more opportunity for kind of scams. So, or for somebody to kind of take their money and run. Why we still think that in such a digital world after we've had complete proof of concept that you can do 99% of life through Zoom, I'm not really quite sure, but I feel like that's probably like the biggest concern for an out-of-state investor. So I think what helps from a property manager perspective is two things. One would be communication, and two is documentation.
Communication, documentation. Got it.
Yeah. So from a communication perspective, once again, I now am hiring you out of state. I technically don't know you. I technically don't know exactly where in the world you really are, even though you're telling me where you are. And I don't know kind of the team that you're going to be working with. Are you personally my property manager? Do you work with a team where it could be you or 5 other people that are going to go to my property? Those are the questions that people are not sure about. So the communication side of those two items would be, I need to hear from you. I want to know what's going on, especially like as we're setting things up. I want to make sure that when I call you that you're going to be responsive. I want to make sure that you're going to answer my questions and give me kind of the time I need to make sure that you are the person that I want to hire and the person I want to trust with this asset that I bought now that once again, I've never seen. So that's kind of the first thing is I want to make sure that like I'm going to be comfortable with you. And I need that through just kind of responsiveness.
Yeah.
The second side, that documentation, is that I feel like people from that communication side, we can trust our gut. We can say, okay, I talked to Colin. I get it. We've had a bunch of good conversations. He responds back to me. He's answered my questions. I now feel comfortable with him. But if your gut fails, then you have a legal side. Now you have documentation of, okay, well, he said he was going to do this, but he did not. Now I have it all in writing. And I do think I'm a very big proponent of contracts in general. I am definitely much more of that kind of, I don't know, I'm a skeptical New Yorker, so maybe paperwork makes more sense to me than just kind of a handshake and a wink here. But I feel like then that paperwork that really lays out, like, I will do these things. What are what are your expectations? What am I getting for my money? What exactly should I know that you will be doing? What are those things, and having them all laid out, I think is incredibly helpful. It would be the same if as a landlord, if I have a lease. Anytime a tenant comes with like, hey, this is a problem, or like, what should we do about this? It's okay. Well, let's look back at the lease and that'll answer our question. I feel like that should be the same in a contract. So with a property manager, I would expect kind of that documentation. So I know what I'm getting for my money. I know what expectations are. I know kind of our roles. I understand what you expect of me. And I think when you can kind of lay all of that out, it really just solves a lot. It makes people feel much more comfortable from the beginning, saying, okay, I'm hiring somebody I've never met. I'm now going to have this property managed from somewhere else. But then also too, I feel like now you have everything nice and documented. Everybody knows their roles and everybody knows their positions. It just starts off a business relationship from the right footing. Yeah,
no, I think that's very true. It's funny you were talking about, the documentation, the contract, the laying out roles and responsibilities. Just earlier this morning, I got off the phone with somebody and we were reviewing our property management agreement, and it is lengthy because it covers a lot of stuff. She's like, well, I've just never seen one this long before. You've been owning properties for a while. I'm like, well, we're trying to avoid litigation and trying to make sure everybody stays in their lane and does what they're supposed to do. Sometimes the length of a document can be overwhelming, but there's a lot of if-thens when it comes to managing an asset.
But for example, also my morning was I was reviewing a property management contract for one of my mentees. And when we went through, well, here are the services that'll be provided. It was completely blank. Okay. And I was like, ooh, well, we got to go back and we have to make sure that there are things that are added in here and delineated very clearly. And that was kind of from our perspective, that was just something that we kind of had to highlight and say, hey, we need better clarification on this. Yeah. And okay, that's something that, fine, it was missed, and lengthy contracts, there's a reason that you're supposed to read things before signing.
Yes.
But it was something that it just was clearly noticeable that, you know, there might've been some things left out. So I do think it's very important from both sides to make sure we know what's in our contracts and we read things before signing them.